We all think we know what bullying looks like. A bully, a victim, and that's pretty much it. But what if that simple story is missing most of its characters? Well, today we're going to dive into a groundbreaking study from 1996 that totally flipped the script on how we understand the secret social life of the classroom.
For the longest time, the picture we had of bullying was really straightforward. It was just a one-on-one conflict, right? A straight line of aggression from one person to another. A simple, powerful, and as we're about to see, a totally incomplete picture.
And yeah, this is the image we all know. The bully on one side, the victim on the other. For decades, this two-person drama was the entire focus of everything. Research, school policies, you name it.
This is the question that Christina Salmivalli's research dared to ask. And it's a huge one. It basically suggested that focusing only on the bully and victim is like watching a play and ignoring every single actor except for two people on a really crowded stage. The real story, the real power, is hiding in plain sight.
So, here's the big idea Salmivalli introduced. Bullying isn't a duel, it's more like a group performance. It's a social event with a whole cast of characters, and each one is playing a specific role that, believe it or not, keeps the whole thing going. So, let's meet the cast.
First up, the most obvious role, of course, the bully. This is the ringleader, the person who kicks things off and takes the lead. You could say they're the director and the star of this really negative social show.
But, a star rarely acts alone. Next up is the assistant. Now, they aren't the ones starting it, but they are an active participant, the sidekick who jumps right in and follows the bully's lead.
And this quote right here, which is one of the actual descriptions the students in the study used, shows you just how physical the assistant's role can be. We're not just talking about laughing along, this is hands-on, active participation.
Then there's the reinforcer. Okay, this person might never lay a hand on the victim, but their role is absolutely crucial. They are the audience, and their laughter, their attention, that's the social reward that fuels the entire situation.
Wow, this quote is so powerful because it shows you just how active a reinforcer can be. This isn't just passively watching. Shouting, "Show him," is literally like throwing gasoline on a fire. The reinforcer gives the bully social permission and a ton of encouragement to just keep going.
But hey, not everyone is playing a negative part here. The study also identified the defender. This is the person who actually steps in, who comforts the victim, and who directly tells the others to stop.
This phrase just captures it perfectly. It's a simple act, but think about it. In a complex social scene like that, it's an incredibly courageous one. They're actively trying to dismantle the whole dynamic. And finally, we have the outsider. This is the silent bystander. They don't join in, but they don't help either. They just withdraw, and that silence can often be read by the bully as quiet approval.
That description is just chillingly accurate, isn't it? It's a deliberate choice to look away. Now, let's get into what motivates all these choices and see how this all shakes out socially.
Okay, so we've met the cast, but why do kids fall into these different roles? What's in it for them? Well, the study dug deep into that, looking at the social wins and losses for each part. What's the social price tag for being a bully versus, say, being a defender?
So the first pattern that jumped out was a really clear difference between boys and girls. As you can see from the data here, boys were way more likely to be in those active bullying roles. The bully, the assistant, and especially the reinforcer. Girls, on the other hand, were more often identified as defenders or outsiders, taking on more of those prosocial or passive roles.
This is fascinating. The researchers found this huge gap between how students saw themselves and how their classmates saw them. A lot of kids who were labeled by their peers as reinforcers, as the audience, actually saw themselves as just being outsiders or even defenders. The study calls it a self-serving bias. Basically, we all want to be the good guy in our own story.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting, connecting these roles to social status. The data had some real surprises. I mean, it's no shock that victims and male bullies were highly rejected. But look at this. Male reinforcers, the audience members, were actually pretty popular. But the highest social acceptance of all, the ones everyone liked the most, that went to the defenders.
I love this part. This was one of the most hopeful findings in the whole study. The kids who stood up for others, the ones who tried to stop the bullying, were consistently rated as the most liked kids in the class. It turns out, being kind was quite literally cool.
Now,
The social world of female bullies was way more complicated. They scored high on both social acceptance and rejection. The study called this controversial. Basically, they were seen as these aggressive leaders who, unlike the boys, were often both feared and admired at the same time.
So what's the big takeaway here? If bullying isn't just a two-person problem, if it really is a group performance, then trying to fix it by only talking to the bully and the victim, well, it's just not going to work. To change the performance, you have to talk to the entire cast.
This study basically gives us a whole new roadmap for intervention. And the key isn't just stopping the bully. It's about changing the behavior of the audience, those reinforcers and outsiders. Think about it. If you can empower those silent outsiders to become defenders, you completely change the social math. A bully who's performing for an empty theater, or even a disapproving one, loses all their power, fast.
And that kind of leaves us with this final thought. For decades, we tried to stop the star of the show, but this research tells us we might have been focusing on the wrong character all along. The real power to change the entire culture of a classroom, it doesn't lie with the bully. It lies with the audience, who gets to choose whether to applaud, to walk away, or to stand up and say, the show is over.